Awesome. Nice to have you with us, Daniel. So excited today.
Yeah, I'm excited as well. And today we would be actually diving down into a live session where we would be looking more into Zapier and its automations, how it can be used to automate like management tasks, sales flows, and different kinds of things. And we will also be looking into some of like the new additions to the Zapier, some of the things that we would be testing and doing a demo are actually in the like the beta phase as well. So
Nice.
this session is all about where we explore things, play with it, and let's see how it can create value and how much value it can create.
Awesome. Hold on one second. I got to show you something. Have you seen this yet?
Yeah, I've seen it. It
Yeah. So this is about 4.5 months now, and it's chewing everything. So if I disappear for a second, I just want everybody to know why I randomly quickly disappeared and or muted my line. So just so you know.
yeah. Her name is, I believe, Noah.
So we started off playing with that name, but with Nala, but nobody could say it right. It was all Nawa, Nalwa, right? Norda. So we finally said, you know what? We're gonna call her Bella.
Bella? Yeah, Bella is much easier.
Right? It's so easy. Everybody can say Bella Chow Chow Chow, right? So
Yeah,
it's
she's like
easy.
a very cute one.
Yeah, cute as hell, but right now chewing everything. So right now she's
Yeah.
chewing her leash.
Yeah, my dog actually chewed her leash, and I have to actually buy like a new one for her. She is also a lot into uh, dogs. Like really like to tour things apart and play with it. That's like how they play with
Yeah, dogs chew, little boys set things on fire, and
them.
little girls do like theater and shows and all that smart stuff. So we have dogs to make us laugh. We have the daughters to make us realize what beauty is and what, peace and harmony is supposed to be. And we have boys to let us know what chaos is.
Yeah, actually very true.
This is
So
the parents' journey.
yeah, we will. I will also like learn it down the line. So coming
Oh,
back,
you will for sure.
yeah.
No man
So
escapes this journey. You've heard of
yeah,
the hero's journey, right? The Iliad and all that. So yeah, this is just something you have to go through. I'm sorry, Daniel. Prepare
yeah,
psychologically.
yeah. I should be prepared.
There's no preparation, but to think you are prepared
Yeah,
gets you
man.
halfway there.
Yeah. So coming back to Zapier, it's like a tool which has like evolved a lot over the time, and in the beginning it used to be a tool which helped you connect different applications and stuff.
Yep.
So let's assume you want to perform certain actions, and there are no, you can say, integrations that are, there are no direct integrations into those applications. So what we used to do was just use Zapier, and that actually just add these two applications, and what we called it, and also what's it called in Zapier, we created different types of like Zaps, and those Zaps actually move data between the two applications, and we are able to perform different tasks and stuff. So over the years it has evolved, and I think there are more than now 6,000 plus automations so far added in Zapier. I think every application that I can think of has some sort of integration with Zapier. Recently, they are also much involved into different sort of automations and stuff, using these applications to perform tasks which could or automate daily operations in a way that you can make stuff automated and different, and using AI as well. different AI models and stuff to not only like you know have like different sort of communication between applications, but also generating images and stuff. So what kind of experience have you ever had using Zapier and stuff, and what's your side of like how
Mhm.
this your
I,
experience?
I I know the question you're asking, right? So we're tech guys, right? And for us, it's really all about connecting all the things possible and imaginable in useful ways. And to be a slightly academic about it, right? I'll kind of go through the different kind of categories, right? So we have integrated adapters, connectors, right? And these could be adapters or bridges. And you think of these as um, largely like systems that can communicate between each other, right? Like messengers. You have native and MCP connectors. MCP connector is a way that your system can communicate with another MCP server, and they kind of communicate back and forth. It's less formatted, it's kind of loosely open. A lot of AI uses it, right? So right now, if I want, I could have an MCP connection to Stripe, to OpenAI, to if I set up my favorite project for it to tie it in, um, and it can communicate back and forth. A lot of AI nowadays is being used with MCP connectors.
Mhm.
Then you have API based, and this is the traditional way that most of us are used to. API, I always forget. It's like application programming interface, programmer interface. I can't remember if it's application programming interface or a programmer interface, but whatever it is, it's very strict rules of how to connect. You'll hear the rest terms like REST and GraphQL, things like that. It's very defined. It's fast, but it's also very strict. Where the MCP pretty broad and open, right?
Mhm.
It's like send us notifications. You have a few things you can do, and then the system is expected to figure out how to interact in there.
Mhm.
Um, and then there's these third party connectors. They're also called IPAS, IPAAS, and
Mhm.
it's an integration platform as a service, IPAS. And that's what Zapier is, right? So it's there's essentially these four different ways to connect systems. And what today we're going to talk about is Zapier. It's a great IPAS server, essentially a third party server where it has a lot of stuff built in. They have some graphical interface to make it easy to build, and you create the rules. A lot of people love it. I don't
Mhm.
even have a chance to create Zapier APIs, or actually a lot of times we'll use N8N to do
Mhm.
this, which is a competitor to Zapier, but we'll talk more about that later. But essentially, these pipelines are so fun that you don't have to be technical to do it. And Daniyal will tell you, like the guys fight over it. Like
Mhm.
we're like, hey, we need 3 Zaps. And it's like the first person that's in the morning is like, I want it, right? They'll tackle each other
Mhm.
because it's like playing Minecraft, more or less. And so anybody can do it. It's a lot of fun. And out of all of the kind of processes, Zapier, I think, is the Zapier and NP8, N8, N8N are very good ways for no matter if you're very technical or limited on your technical skills to create automations and to simplify your life. And today I'm excited to talk about that. But just before that, though, um, at some point, we're going to talk more about MCPs. And the reason being is because AI is kind of leading that way. And a lot of people call MCPs like the last interface we'll ever need. So I'm not going to jump into it too much technically. Why? Because Zapier is obviously going to start taking advantage of those connections because they're tying in AI, right? So
Mhm.
by learning Zapier and any of these other the competitors, you're really going to have a chance to speed up the way you simplify your life and to have some fun and to reduce kind of like your workforce fatigue. If you ever like how many times do we say, like, I am so tired of looking this form, going to one's hub, see the schedule, set up the team meeting, set up all the documents and all that manually. As soon as you hear yourself say that, instantly you should have that trigger. This could be a Zap.
Yeah.
Right. And anytime you like roll your eyes at a task, probably a Zap, right? Because you've done it so many times, you're like, I'm just sick. If I have to do this one more time, I'm going to jump off the balcony. And that's going to be sad because my balcony is only like a meter high. Right? So to have a proper Zapier balcony, you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah. So yeah, I do understand, and actually Zapier actually helps you to also automate like a lot of repetitive tasks. So let's assume in an organization, it could be like a software house, uh, and we are using different systems. We are using like a project management tool. We are using like a communication channel, which is like Slack. And if there are like a lot of repetitive managerial tasks, let's assume if you think of all the projects going on, and then you actually think about what could something very repetitive is just to see where your projects are at the moment, and what things are like, it could be like things are overdue, or you can see which tasks in a planner are approaching their deadline, how and you, if you want them to automate it, there are automations in Zapier in which you just need to connect your project management tool and your communication channel. And what happens is basically, if you automate in a way, it will automatically look for tasks which are approaching deadline. It depends upon the prompt that you give for what you are building this like agent for, and it could actually give you like the list of like the pending stuff, and then you can, it automatically sends out reminders to all those people, those resources as well, that these are the tasks that are overdue, and it can also even add links to those tasks for reference. And you can actually set like a trigger in terms of, it could be like a time sensitive trigger. Let's assume at 11 a.m. every day, Monday to Friday, you want to actually send out these reminders to your resources that these are the tasks that you need to take care of. Now you don't have to spend time going into the planners manually seeing which tasks are approaching deadline or overdue. That Zapier has access to like project management tool. It could be like ClickUp, Asana, or like any other tool, and it will
Thousands
automate.
of tools,
Yeah,
thousands and thousands of
yeah,
tools they have
yeah.
access to.
So it really creates like a value. That is something, because I think with AI we are moving toward a time where things which are very, you can say, less productive and less creative are being automated very easily. So let's assume this is like a very simple task which if I would ask my manager to do every day, like give me like a summary of all the projects that are ongoing and which things are overdue and what I have to keep in mind. So
Yep.
I
Yeah.
just
End of day analytics and automatic email responses to like forums that you've had out there. All kind, like if you can think of like all the automatic stuff that you should do, and then you're like, I just don't have time for that. Make a list of 100 of those things that you wish you were doing, but you just don't have time. And it's kind of important, but it's like you're just like, I hate doing that anyways. And then see how many of those that you can start replacing with Zaps or whatever. I'm going to start using the automation, right? So think of how many of those that you could use for automation to get it off your plate, and don't initially say blow it off right away. Say that I can never send an email out as an autoresponder for somebody that's sent me just a quick response and it's after hours. But well, yeah, probably they'd be happy with, hey, I just got your message. It's after hours. Here's a quick thoughts on it. You can do all this, and a lot you're mixing in both the responder, the email details, and a little bit of AI. And you can even in there say, hey, this was AI generated. I'm out of the office. I'll be back in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
And that may actually solve the problem. Still let people know it's AI generated. Fine. Right. You don't have to hide it. You can hide it. Nobody said that's your own business. And it's going to increase the satisfaction of the users, of your clients or your friends, maybe even, right? If you have a mother-in-law, you don't want to answer her all the time, put
Mm-hmm.
that on the Zap list, right? Okay,
Yeah.
SMS for mama, here it is, automatic response.
Mm-hmm.
My calendar says this, thanks mama, something like that.
Yeah.
I'm not telling you guys to have Zapier take care of your mother-in-law, but you do what you gotta do.
And also, it's about for applications where integrations are not very easy. So let's assume we
Mm-hmm.
want to integrate an application. It could be if you everyone is aware of Discord. So Discord doesn't have like a lot of native integrations with different CRMs and stuff. So there are two options. One option is we go custom and we get access of their API and we spend months doing those integrations and bringing the data. Move between different CRMs and stuff. And the easier way is to just use Zapier. It offers integrations using Discord, and it can be used to actually connect Discord with different CRMs and stuff. And Discord is like a very widely used tool, and it is like a very powerful communication tool. So where applications don't have these, you can say native integration, and for applications where it's not very much easy to integrate in our direct integrations and stuff, Zapier
Mm-hmm.
add like a lot of value where you can just do connect these two and see what you were trying to achieve, actually perform those tasks and see actually is that thing actually needed or not,
Mm-hmm.
that creates any value.
Yep.
So
Oh,
that's
so
like
that's a good point, right? Let me jump in for 2 seconds, and I'll let you continue. Um, there's one of the guys asked a question, Fahad. What's one process in your business that always gets delayed or forgotten, and how could it be automated to solve? And one of those is like just a response on a contact form that's not a bug and not something that's flagged. Sometimes these don't get kind of addressed quickly. But if I'm looking at that kind of question, right? Somebody responds on a form, and it's essentially like it comes to me as an email, and I can say, all right, do I just let it wait until tomorrow when I can answer it regularly, like I go through my stuff? Should I create a Zap, right, and have it automatically send out a answer based off the AI, my facts, and some hot guesses on how to give the person some quick support? Or do I write a script that puts into the database that addresses it kind of appropriately and efficiently and can scale without having to worry about some of the kind of the credits of any of these Zap systems, automation systems? In the very beginning, I would say just what Daniyal is saying is that test it out with Zapier, or test
yeah.
it out with an automation system, see how it responds. Because if you write a custom script, that's expensive. Like that's the hardest possible way to do it. You go into the API. It's the most efficient and
Mm.
it's probably the lowest cost to maintain. But to get there, you have to test it out, see if it's working, make sure you're not embarrassing yourself or the company, and to go through that. So part of yours, if you're testing things, so easy to say, okay, cool, Zapier, I want you to answer my emails. I want you to send me an SMS. I want you to notify my team member to check on this also. And I want to have some kind of calendar plan whenever this happens. All that kind of stuff would be super hard to do in the scripts or as a manual process, but it just comes naturally when you start thinking of in Zapier terms.
Yeah. And it creates like a lot of value as I was mentioning about bridging the gap between different applications in a way that they can interact with each other and you can do stuff which is not natively possible. And in terms of like real world use cases, this is like a use case. I actually had a client who wanted to They had like an e-commerce store, and in that e-commerce store, what they wanted to do was they were using Airtable to actually, use their data in a way, or like order their data in a way that they had like an order which is not very much possible within Shopify. They had some additional things they wanted to consider in order to get like a complete overview of like the profit and loss statements, and they had like a stronger process. They spent time in actually pointing out different products and what you can say things actually play a role in making those products
Hmm.
profitable, or to identify different type of losses and stuff.
Yep.
So if you look into Shopify, there isn't like a native Airtable integration, but you would need to do is basically manually download data and then populate it in Airtable. But what we did, we were exploring different types of automations, what could be done to actually make this process automated. So a lot of, you can say, manual time in updating those columns and sheets can be reduced, and uh,
Oh, by the way, I think they fairly recently added some Airtable integrations.
yeah. This is I'm referring to a time because every day you get to
Oh,
know more.
yeah, no, it's fast. And Zapier, like I hate them, but I also kind of like them. My first impression of them, uh, it okay, so I'm old dog, right? Like I know Zapier's great grandmother. Okay, maybe I was even trying to flirt with her once upon a time. So back 200 years ago, when Zapier was young and wrestling with the dinosaurs, it was like goodness. I'll just write a script because it's almost as hard, right? But
Yeah.
nowadays, if you don't have something that's just working out of the box, you could almost send them a request and they may
Yeah.
have it in like a month or something, right?
Yeah.
That's
Mhm.
how progressive they become with it.
Yes, and that really adds value for us when we, did it. It performed that uh, basically. So basically, the Zapier was a bridge between Airtable and Shopify. So Zapier's integrations with Airtable and with Shopify allowed us to actually, send that data. Like on every new order, it was like a trigger which sent all those details related to the order, which could be like customer name and product ID and stuff to populate those fields. So I was referring to the integration, or
Of this project, yeah.
yeah, for this project, and also uh, the ability to sync data between Shopify and Airtable, and using Zapier as a bridge. And also, as you were mentioning, you can just request some stuff to them that is already not available, and you can request for stuff which isn't available right now, and they actually try to make it happen for you. And as you were mentioning that it has evolved over the time, another thing that came into my mind was related to sales process. Now things are pretty much, you can say, a lot of new integrations and stuff have been added to Zapier, and also between different applications. But in terms of sales flow, Zapier was also like used a lot, and now as well, to connect different applications. It could be your CRM, which could be integrated with Airtable, or it could be like Calendly, where you are getting the leads and you are using Zapier as like a bridge between where your data is hosted, like Airtable. So when you are getting a new lead and stuff and bookings and stuff, all that data is transferred using a Zap to like where you are hosting that data. It could be like Airtable or any other platform. So it really adds value in terms of connecting things, and there are, as we speak, a lot of you can say competitors in a way also emerging, and we were talking about NA10 and stuff. There are like, yeah,
There's
some,
going to be more. And with
yeah.
AI nowadays, Um, it's not right now, but here's what I'm seeing with AI. In like a year or 2 years, it's going to be able to create tools for you on the spot
Mm-hmm.
to do a lot of tasks.
Mm-hmm.
So if the system that you have that you're working with has some pretty good, well explained APIs or a MCP that it can communicate with, then it'll create tools on the spot to solve your problem. Right. So have you seen some of the rendering of AI video games where it doesn't actually code the video game? It
Mm-hmm.
just kind of dreams it up as you're playing, and it's
Mm-hmm.
rendering screens, and it's just interacting. Right. It's a whole new way of thinking from a developer's perspective. It
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't be efficient on scale
Mm-hmm.
uh yet, right? Maybe with 6G or something, it'd eventually be so insane it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
And if Trump gets his Stargate, right, maybe we'll be able to do, not have to program anymore. But what I'm saying is um Zapier and all these other systems are going to tie into those processes where you give it a request, it will create all the tools you need on the spot for a specific task. And right now, I think every day we should push it and see what we can get done
Mm-hmm.
as we're standing. And I think you're going to be surprised. Going into the future, it's going to be automation is going to this kind of automation especially is going to make it so that when you think of a task, you should just try to see if it could be automated and look at the results and say if you like it or not before you kind of poo-poo it.
Yeah, and as you were mentioning about tools and and these solutions are uh, pretty much available in some sort of way as well. In Zapier, we have they have introduced like live agents. That is also something available in Microsoft environment as well. So, but live agents are basically you create your own agents. That is basically a tool which perform repetitive tasks. So I can actually add a prompt for my live uh, agent, as I was mentioning, to go into my project management tool and look for different tasks. I can use it for anything that I need, and I just need to integrate my different applications in a way that I can use that as a tool. So I was asked actually having a conversation with Adil related to this too, that we and that is also like an agent. And when I was exploring more into Microsoft agents and also live agent available within Zapier, so I was
Microsoft and Google have come up with some really powerful agents, by the way, recently.
yeah,
Really, really
yeah.
powerful.
So what we were actually looking into creating an agent which could be like an assistant for your manager for your company, where you could actually, let's assume we have integrated that into all into our system, and has access to all the data that is present over there. So what it could do is basically I could just have like communication with it, and I could ask like, let's assume, what's the update on this mobile app project, where do we stand, and
Yep.
what's happening.
And you can
So
tie it into the GitHub and everything.
yeah, yeah, and that makes it like a lot of power. And also analytics can be added. So it can even have benchmarks. So I can ask like how much time did my developer spend on this task, and how it is. You can say how well it stands related to like the industry standards.
Yep.
So I can have like a comparison, and also it can, based on the data we are giving, it can create company benchmark. So if I keep using it for 6 months, it has all the data that it needs to compare between different developers, or like designers, or like video editors, or like marketers, and see their efficiency, how well they are working. And I can be at any point of time, I can have that thing opened up in my phone and just have like a conversation, and I
Mhm.
have now more understanding I have had more clarity about the things going on with different projects, which
Mhm.
deadlines are coming up and where we need to improve. So I think those things are adding like a lot of value, and these automations are available. As you mentioned about Microsoft and Google, they do are offering very powerful tools and these agents, and the ability for them to create multiple agents and let those agents communicate within each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
That.
Claude has become really good at
Mhm.
creating creating processes for multiple agent spawning.
Mhm.
Uh, I'm pretty excited for what they're doing, and not the Claude like the terminal that you're used to on the browser, but if you're
Mhm.
using the Claude CLI,
Yeah.
it's way ahead from my experience. It's way ahead of what's with OpenAI.
Mhm.
Um, even like I think Google's released a new CLI. It's in the
Mhm.
beginning. It looks like it's going to be promising, especially with its huge context window. But
Mhm.
it's kind of
Yeah,
interesting. Look,
yeah, and that is something very powerful, and the ability for these agents to communicate within each other. That is something, they actually reason with each other. So a
yeah,
model,
yeah. You can even
AI,
set them to argue.
yeah, yeah, AI basically talking, different agents talking with each other and coming up with stuff, and they actually validate that, and then they give you that suggestion, and also. Uh, uh, the data that you can give and the ability how easier it is now to actually integrate this data with the system, in terms of I can add like a very in Microsoft Copilot, I can add like different stuff in my knowledge base. I can just give it like a link and it will automatically crawl through that website to get all the information needed. And I can connect databases and stuff, and it gathers, and it's like the RAG model where actually when we so the process without this RAG thing or like the knowledge base is basically when I give a prompt, it goes to like a model, and it based on the system prompt, it modifies it, and then the model generates a response. But when I add like uh, a knowledge base to it. So what happens is whenever I initiate a response, that goes to the knowledge base. Through the knowledge base, the bot actually looks into the stuff that is already available to support that context. And before going to the model to get more details, so it combines the system prompt and also the data that I have in the knowledge base to create a prompt which is more powerful in a way that it makes the data that I have given to make it more relatable. So all the related information I have in my knowledge base, it adds to the prompt, and the response that I get is because with these AI models, the better you get at prompting, the better prompts you can give, the better
Yep.
answers you are able to get. So things are evolving pretty fast, and these are
My dog
pretty.
is crazy downstairs. Sorry about that.
No worries, no worries. We talked
No,
about
it's great. So it's fun. It gives us kind of a couple problems, right? So we're coming into the world of agents, right?
Mhm,
Zapier, agents are a beta testing feature now, right now, right?
mhm,
So you have the potential to use agents.
mhm,
Now we have to do a couple things, right? We need to have measurable results to see if any process is making sense. So we have to have our KPIs. Right now, once you've defined your KPIs, and I encourage you to do this before you set up any agents, any real agents that you're going to have public facing. And this kind of goes back to one of the questions that Adil asked was, uh, what would my workday look like if 50% of my tasks were automated? And would I love that? Right? Yes, I would, but I don't want my public facing stuff mixed with my internal business processes.
mhm.
And um, if I could, and the question before that from Promptagia, good name, I can't say it. But if I can choose between what automations I use for public facing and uh, the internal team facing, I think it's what takes up the most of my time that allows me to be the most resourceful and bringing the most value. So I have to, when I'm using agents, I have to say, look, you only have access to this information. So I have to segment my database. I essentially I have to create a mirrored database that has non-confidential information, the public facing information that anybody can see anyways, and it even a very smart, cracker, right? Not a hacker, not a like white cracker guy, but like somebody who's good at cracking systems is not going to be able to get access to private stuff. So I want to make sure I have a separate database. I want to make sure I give it the FAQs that it needs to understand it. And so kind of like any probably curated public information that I have. And I probably even use AI to curate my public information before I fed it to my agent. And once you set that up, just like you're saying, you'd be surprised what can be done with these systems.
Yeah, and these systems are getting better. And in our last session, when we were discussing the Iran-Israel conflict, we were also talking about how these systems are getting powerful every day, and it's becoming a challenge to actually differentiate what's real and what's AI. So, a lot of videos we get, a lot of content that we get online.
It's getting hard to tell, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, it's getting pretty hard. And on Instagram as well, something I found exciting. I saw some AI influencers. So all their profiles are like AI based. Their Even that person is AI based, and the content they are creating is the videos, everything. The content is based on AI, and it's hard to tell. They are getting.
It's hard to tell. It's actually getting to the point where AI is so polished that if I hear an interview or a podcast or a YouTube video that sounds like too perfect, and I start to get the hint that it's like that got that AI flavor, I almost like don't want to listen to it anymore because it's creating very good long form content now. And it's really just like kind of sucks you in. What I'm seeing is I'm recognizing it by the patterns. It's trying to get you watch time, and maybe it repeats itself. It doesn't. The AI really isn't that good at the large context window yet, and it's not. Most systems are not good at deception just yet. That you start to pick that up. I think we're going to see this. So the other problem is if it's too polished and too perfect of a presentation, I'm also kind of like not so interested anymore.
Yeah. And what's like the biggest misconception related to these automations? This is like a question from the audience, and I was actually trying to understand it and answer to it, but I'm still thinking about it. But it's like the biggest
No,
misconception.
that's good stuff. Good question, right? I don't. There's no misconceptions on what automation can it do it or can it not. You test the darn thing. I think the expectation of what we can get done should not be like biased. Try it out. It's so easy to test it to see if it's acceptable. And in that process, you can then go and figure out what's the best way to go forward. So say you want to say, hey, can AI handle this use case? I wanted to answer all my emails for me. Right? That's a hard one. Probably one of the hardest. So you give the criteria. How do I judge this? What are my KPIs? I want to know the number of emails it answers. I want to know the number of hours that I spent last week answering emails, and I want to know the number of hours after 2 weeks of testing this
Mhm.
am I spending per day,
Mhm.
right? And hopefully, if you once you've gotten to like a medium sized business, you know how long you're spending on tasks because you start blocking that in your calendar. You've gone through it; it becomes routine, and your salespeople will know this, and so on. So you can do this. Now it's very hard if you're just starting and you're developing all your processes from scratch and you're trying to figure out what what this was all about, right? What your business is all about, how to present, how to communicate your value proposition and all that. That takes time to develop. But look at what you're do a test at least one day. See how long it takes you to answer this, and then see have the automation not send the email, for example, but put them in your draft folder
Mhm.
and then go through those drafts and see the quality. First, rate the quality. Is it close enough to answer it the way you want? Is there tweaks you can make to make it better? Is there process? Is it, what can you do to make it acceptable or decide which ones can be addressed by your automation, which includes AI nowadays, or which ones have to be handled individually? And once you've ironed that out, just do a measurement and see what it was. Now,
Mhm.
at the end of this process, you may say, "Wow, I really love this going into my draft folder
Mhm.
because now it's answered everything for me. It even did the research for me, and it pulled up the quotes and the documents and all that stuff I spent like 6 hours a day trying to figure out how to do, and it did it quick. And I was spending 10 minutes doing emails, and I realized that there's some emails I never want going out in the world. So
Yeah.
I can't fully automate it. So I can't have it press that send button,
Mhm.
but I can do this. Now, oh gosh, all of a sudden, I realize that I have people working 24 hours a day getting tired, answering emergency cases.
Mhm.
And I'm looking at these responses. I'm like, wow, this could handle 80% of that.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
what do I do? Do I not let it do it? And do I
Mhm.
hire a person, well, one person instead of 10 people to
Mhm.
supervise it? Or do I say, hey, this is an automated AI response, right? And I think this is fair. Say, hey, this is an AI response. I think this might be a quick solution. Can you reply to this? Let me know if it worked. And if not, can I call you back?
Mhm.
And then the next part of the task is look for that answer and to have pay a service to call people back,
Mhm.
to call them back yourself, or to see how it's saving. Like you just iterate through it and
Mhm.
see where it's saving you time.
Mhm.
And people are used to AI now. We're
Mhm.
used to it
Yeah.
in our
Yeah.
chatbots. We're used to it. When I call my bank, it's hard to for me to get a person.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
now it's like, hey, look, guys, I'm going to help you out. I'm an amazing AI helper, and just give me your account information. And I'm so pissed off with it, but I'm like, okay, well, it solved my problem,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And I'm kind of happy because it's midnight, and I don't have to stress about a person.
Mhm.
So we're getting used to it. The question is how to present it in a way that makes sense and how to protect yourself from terrible things happening. Uh, in the very beginning, I'd say maximum skepticism,
Mhm.
maximum curiosity,
Mhm.
and being truth seeking as possible.
Yeah. And also, as you were mentioning, that people are getting more used to it, and even if we go to the support of any application that we use, it could be even if you are raising a query in Stripe, so it's hard to get to like a sorry, like a human agent. So, and I tried it in a way where I wanted to talk to a human, because that was something because the AI wasn't uh, understanding pretty well. So it
Yep.
kept asking me the same question, or like same, you have to fill out this form, or you need to
Yeah.
this. So but uh, this is like a link to like all the related information and stuff.
Yep.
So even if not like 100%, I think if it performs well in like the 80% of the cases, or like
Mhm.
even
Well, so that
70% of the cases, it adds like a lot of value. And one thing, this is also like a question from the audience, that how to actually balance human touch in basically in these AI conversations and AI automations. So what I could think of, and this was something that crossed my mind when we were considering building this AI like AI assistant for our like our manager.
Mhm.
So we don't want to do like a lot of micromanagement in a way that
Yeah.
know that the moment they start work, this agent is like it has like a look on them what they are trying to do and how efficient they are. So we don't want to overstress them too. And about the communication and stuff, how it's different to like the conversation that we have as a human, and how understanding this is like a thing we were actually discussing. If I refer to our conversation with Adil from the Arham Soft, where we were having like just a coffee hour conversation, and we were talking about sentiment analysis. So uh, the better that it gets in identifying the sentiment of the person that is having that conversation, it could be like a chat support or like with the live agent,
Mhm.
and it could actually identify what kind of situation the other person is and how it can facilitate. As a human, we as we grow, empathy is something from the time we are a kid to we become an adult, and to the point we live, we try to have empathetic conversations, also trying to understand people's situations and stuff, and trying to facilitate them and make them comfortable. So I think that is something AI is getting better at, and
Mhm.
the more better it gets, it could actually we might be able to start feeling that human touch in those conversations that we still feel that is missing. So
I think pretty soon
Mhm,
we're going to start realizing we're talking with AI when
mhm.
it's like we're just too comfortable,
Yeah.
right? Like I'm just enjoying this conversation too much. There's no
Mhm.
way Phil or Daniel are so fun to talk with,
Yeah.
right? That is impossible. Phil is not that entertaining, right? This has got to be AI, and I'm sure it's going to get to that point like next year,
Yeah.
um, based off of all the fun we had with OpenAI making like people 10 times more narcissistic than they ever were.
Yeah.
Uh, and you had some really fun points. The sentiment analysis, right? That's one thing.
Mhm.
AI rotation.
Mhm.
What a lot of systems are doing now is that they have a general AI supervisor leading the conversation, and then they have a number of coaches in the background.
Mhm.
And I'm not using the industry terms, but I'm trying to kind of make it colorful. So you have your AI support agent, and
Mhm.
then in the back end, it has a number of coaches. The first coach is saying, hey, do this, do this, do this. And sometimes that first one will get into that loop where it's not solving the problem. It's just kind of going back and forth on it. So that AI that's a frontline one should be keeping a log. So this logging and this planning part can go in system. So it should be planning, it should be logging what happened, and it
Mhm.
should say, wow, we did this twice now. We did this 3 times. And even for a person, that's hard to do sometimes, but we do it pretty well for the most part. That like, oh yeah, I'm just asking the same question another way, right?
Mhm.
Now, once it realizes that or once it has like 3 failed attempts, it should try another AI solution system,
Mhm.
and it
Yeah.
should be building context, and it can run in parallel because obviously AI is not like a linear thinking, neither
Mhm.
like is my wife, right? My wife doesn't think linear, she thinks in like a cloud. So when you get married, you realize this: women have a universal thought process, and men are like lasers, right? This is the difference. That's why we get paid more. And this is why women get the privilege to make children, because they think like God. So the AI has this ability, right? So take advantage of it. Look at what AI can do and what Zapier can do, and have some fun with it. There's nothing saying that you can't include Zapier in your sales call to trigger off research while you're working on things from 5 different places. And you could do this internally. Now, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to write a program that accesses 3 different APIs. I'm going to have it reach Anthropic. I'm going to have it reach OpenAI. I'm going to have it with Grok or Gemini, right? But that's me as a programmer, right? My brain is wired. With Zapier, you don't have to think all that way. You say, hey, I'm going to give you a command, and I want you to pull these resources together and put it on the screen for me, right? To send me an email or something. And that way you can have this interactive support and build up on it. So many different ways you can use automation to speed up your research, because if you had to do that in real time, if I'm talking to a client, it used to be like, hey, Phil, I was doing some research and I'm looking at this advanced Apple shop integration, and I think it's going to solve our problems. And this is a fun one, right? Because Apple at certain stages will give you a lot more access if you're doing millions of transactions per day versus if you're doing tens or thousands or hundreds of thousands, right? Once you break the multi-millions, they're a lot more loving. So I wouldn't know about that as a developer or as a sales guy or as an engineer even. And while I'm talking, normally I'd say, you know what? That's a great question. I'm going to go check it out. Let me know your other concerns.
Yeah.
But now as a senior engineer, I say, hey, Zapier, I want you to do this research for me. I want you to put together a report for me and put it in the Google document. Send it to me when you're done. Summarize it on the top so that I can do it. After 5 minutes now, by the time I'm going through all the other issues with my clients, I can then go back, hey, say, look, my report's ready on that first question you asked. Let me look at it. Okay. Oh, I see now. And based off my experience, right? Because I'm familiar with this and I just need a little bit of details and some document references to see if it's still valid, to make sure it works. I'd be like, okay, Agent Smith in the Matrix, I see that your question is completely valid if you're doing $2 million in sales a month. Apple will definitely do this with you, but you're not quite there yet, right? Because you're still making under $50,000 in sales per month. So probably not going to work. We can try that and we can make that request in parallel. Unlikely to pass based off what I'm seeing, but we can do that. Meanwhile, let's check out these other solutions. This way you have, and this is the value of experience, right? You say, hey, based on my experience, this is what I think. AI is saying this thing. The documentation is saying this thing. Here's from working with Apple, probably what's going to happen, right? We'll get on the call with Jill, my favorite Apple representative, and I'll give her all the information based off this report. My dog is chewing my shoes. 1 second. Oh, she heard me. Now she's barking at my shoes, and you hear her barking. These creatures are so funny. She heard me say it. She wants my shoes so bad. Yeah, she's sitting there growling at it now and sitting in front of me, looking at me, saying, I want your shoe. Okay, guys, I'm sorry for the diversion. But this is what's going to be. So we're going to close the circle. We may even be able to, hey, I'm going to send out this information to my inside sales agent on Apple, my support agent. I prepare the document, I prepare the question, and I have everything. I send it off and I continue the conversation, and I'm able to look back into it and say, there's some chance that's either after the call or during the call, I'm going to be able to respond. We don't have a lot of time. I really wanted to do some role playing with this.
Yeah.
And if you could lead us through that, because I really wanted to see you show some of the
Sure
stuff.
thing. And as we reach to the 1 hour mark, we would be actually moving towards some live demos where we actually play with these tools and create some real, uh, try to actually convert use cases into use those use cases to create value, some stuff that could create value using Zapier. So we would be having like just like a 1 minute break before we start this demo as like a cool off, cool down.
Look, you take that 1 minute, set it up. I'm going to go back through the questions and have a little bit of fun with that.
Sure thing.
Beautiful. Let me know when you're ready. Okay, before Dan shows up, I'm going to have some fun. Somebody asked, how do you measure the ROI of automation in your business or team? And the way I look at that is you can't measure return on investment until you know your key KPIs, right? So what's return on value? How do you define value? When you define that, then you can go ahead and my dog is barking at my shoe still. Then once you define that, then you can measure it. And that's how you can determine ROI. I would say that you want to look at ROI in segments. You have weekly, monthly, quarterly, biannually, and annually. And you want to look at what it was for the previous time period versus what it was in this time period. And you can give percentages up and down based off how strong or cold the market is. And then you can see how measure what it is. So for example, you're trying to say, hey, I have use automation to reduce my secretary's manual work by 40%. She is now trying to figure out what to do. Now, all of a sudden, you have two problems. One is your secretary is either bored or she's out building more business for you. And the secretary is an example. It could be anything that provides a chance for people to have more creativity and leverage to perform their task better. And this becomes part of a question on culture. So back to the question of ROI, how to measure ROI. You have your KPIs, you know what you have to measure. You measure that, you compare it to the previous time period in the same manner. And you also look at the heat temperature of the current market based off of what was last year. So if you were spending X hours on sales last year and you're getting this result, this year you're getting Y results, compare that, see what the difference is. And you can see, okay, this year is hotter or colder by 10, 20, 40%. Put that into your calculations so that you can give a fair approximation of how good these systems are. It's kind of a little complicated, but just consider, is it harder or easier to do this than the previous time? And then see, is it giving me more or less results from that? If you don't have the historical record, just compare it to last week. Is it faster or better than last week? And realize that a lot of the stuff has a J curve. It's it increases the first 1 or 2 or 3 weeks. It increases complexity and makes it difficult for people until they learn the systems and you adopt to the change. If this is a new technology that you haven't been supportive of before, there's going to be some resistance to it. So you also have to get over your mindset sometimes and to get ready to open up to new systems before they can have returns. The J curve, very common when you're introducing new systems. Hopefully there's just a little bit of a dip in productivity. There has to be, because you're learning, right? If you're not learning, then you're probably not pushing yourselves. So once you hit that learning stage, you go through that, right? It may be a few days, it might be a few weeks, depending on the complexity. Give it some time, measure it week, 2 weeks, a month, 90 days, see how it goes. And that was
Yes.
a long answer to a beautiful, quick question.
Yeah, I was trying to get my head around it.
Yeah, it's hard to do. Measuring anything is not a simple task.
Mhm. Yeah,
But
true.
it's a lot simpler when you start saying, hey, what are my KPIs? And how do I measure success, right? If you haven't thought about what success looks like in the first place, how do you know if you made it? So define what's valuable to you, and then you can go and start measuring things. It's not so hard once you start playing with it, but it's
Yeah.
about mindset shift sometimes.
Yes, and I think we are good to now shift to some live demos. So
Yeah, share your
I will,
screen.
yeah, I will start sharing my screen. So
I'm going to turn off my camera while you do that. And try to expand your presentation.
so is my screen visible?
Yes.
So the first thing that I would actually want us to look into and talk more about is Zapier agents. This is like a beta thing. So it's like good to test it now and see how good it is at what it does. And this is something related to the use cases we were actually having a conversation about. So we can these agents help you automate daily tasks and stuff, and basically how they add more value is basically you can have a conversation, just be and I would be showcasing that in a moment. You can have those conversation, and based on the your conversation and the prompts you set, it actually makes that agent more useful, and it also uh, lists out a different stuff. Let's assume if a flow is broken, what's broken and what you need to do in order to fix it. So before we used to actually go through like the support tutorials or some videos on YouTube how to make these things work, but with this support and stuff, this is like pretty much automated too. So this is like a pretty straightforward thing. You can just go and click on like create agent, and what it does is basically it opens up a window. There are some like pre-built templates like call follow up and this is something you were mentioning. And then we have lead generation, research, daily expense summary, email, sales prep agent, so like a lot of stuff. And if you want like custom agent, uh, so you can create one too based on your requirements. So the one that I was more into creating. I wanted it to see how well it performs for the managerial assistant, and just try to automate one task, which was related to automation agent that checks for overdue tasks in ClickUp, identifies the like assigned users and any task dependencies, and sends a personalized message to each responsible team member containing the task details, list of dependencies, and a direct link to the task. So let's try building it. So it's now generating some instructions for it.
Mhm.
While it performs that. This is
Lindy
not.
used to be a system. Lindy is another system that kind of does these AI agents.
Mhm,
But from what I'm seeing,
mhm.
Zapier is giving them a run for their money at a fraction of the price.
Yeah, and you just need to like integrate. Like I have added my ClickUp account. This is like a pretty straightforward thing. If you have, you just need to log into it, and then it could actually, it's integrated, and then you need to uh, add like Slack as well, and then it does like automation.
And if you guys are wondering how hard it is to add Slack or Gmail or Google
Mhm,
Forms, it's super easy. What it does is, let's kind of throw our beautiful faces up there. Mostly Danny's beautiful face. So let's. What it
mhm,
does is it gives you a little icon to let you know that you have to connect it or
mhm,
do whatever steps in there, and it's super easy. So it creates this little visual view once it's done, and it'll say, okay, the first step, connect to whatever, right? So say it's Google Forms. There'll be a little icon there that says, hey, we need to connect. We need to know what properties you want out of the form and how to go through that. And it walks you right through it. So it's not super hard. Anybody
mhm,
can do this. And I would encourage um, solopreneurs
mhm,
uh, to try it first on your own, and even startup companies, right? To start doing everything on your own to kind of go through it. And then don't hand it off right away, but do some like pair programming, right? We call this pair programming in developer world, which is just sit there with the person you're going to hire, get on a Zoom call, and work through it together and record this and hit the hardest situations you can think of. Hit some easy ones because you'd be surprised what people think is natural,
mhm,
and use this as training documentation, both
mhm,
for the person that you're hiring and for your AI, right? And use the transcripts because Zoom does all that transcript stuff pretty well, by the way.
yeah,
And you're going to be able to do two things, right? Take that transcript for your AA, take that, give it the recording to your staff, and you're going to be able to evolve it over time. And just every month, revisit this and go back. Don't, as opposed to the other alternative, which is to say hire a very sweet Filipino person, say, hey, please do all this at $2 an hour,
mhm,
and don't give them good instructions, right? Do yourself a little bit and walk through that, do that recording once or twice. And until you heard yourself go through it and you're like, oh, that makes sense, versus, wow, I can't believe I said that. A little bit of practice saves you a lot of money in the long run. And it's so hard because a lot of entrepreneurs don't know how smart they are, right? They
yeah,
don't, like, you entrepreneurs, you don't know that you're brilliant. You're one in a million, right?
mhm,
You guys are insane. Just having the courage to go out there and to do that, very special, right?
mhm,
So realize that people can't think like you until you really take their hand and show them through it.
mhm,
And the biggest disappointments I've seen have come from people that say just try to hand stuff off and
mhm,
say, I know these people know how to do it, but it's not my expectation. It can't
mhm,
be until you really show them your thought process, you walk through it, and you've actually heard yourself do it and say, that is or that isn't what I'm thinking. And sometimes it
mhm,
takes a couple iterations,
yeah.
but I know some of you beautiful, amazing people do it the first time perfect.
Mhm. Yeah. And while we were having like a chart, it has given some of the instructions, and these are like editable. So I can actually customize it the way I want. And this is like while you were actually having a conversation.
Yeah. And this was 5 minutes.
Yeah. It tested the agent and it went into the ClickUp, look for tasks which had like status overdue and projects section button. Alignment is one of the tasks which status is overdue and it doesn't have any dependencies. It also has like the ClickUp link if I go to
Guys, if you're wondering what I'm drinking, don't ever drink this. It's too much fun.
it. So this is like the project board that I have over here, and these are like the tasks which are like overdue. So, and it shared with me like a task link which was related to. Uh,
Dad was kind of making fun of me. He's like, these are Phil's overdue tests.
I have
There's a
added
lot
one.
of them. He's trying to say, Phil, you need to do more Zapier. Just say it for
Yeah.
love. And next screen is going to show me is the pricing.
Yeah.
And if you look at the pricing, actually show the pricing real quick, right? Because this is funny.
Yeah.
Phil, look at all these tasks you could just hand off to Zapier. And it's going to cost you $18 a month, $19 a month. I think is like the medium level for like 20,000 zaps, right? He's
Yeah.
like,
Let
we could be
me-
more productive if you get organized. This is sweet, right? Your team, guys, entrepreneurs, beating even CXOs, right? Your team is wishing that you would do some of this stuff to make it easier for them to think, use all that talent that you help train them on, and to make your life easier.
Mhm. Yeah. And it's only like $50 per month for like 1,500 plus activities, which is like a lot. And they give you like 400 activities per month in the free plan. That is also you can just test things
Yeah,
out
test it
before.
out, have some fun.
Yeah. So for the one like the task link that was provided, it gave me like the right tasking for its status is overdue, and it has all the details and stuff. So what it did, one limitation that I just noticed is there are like two more, but it only gave me one. If you see over here, so I
So
can
yeah,
just.
so there's a setting, there's some settings that you have to get a little bit familiar with. One
Mhm,
is the current ones, like what's current, and it's maybe
mhm,
hard to figure out what's current in the system, but
mhm,
it's also you can go through and have it do all of them. So with systems like ClickUp, where it's like, hey, you have all these tasks currently outstanding, you probably
mhm,
want to say, give me all the tasks, not just the
mhm.
most recent one.
Yeah, I can just in this conversation ask for once this action gets complete, I can ask that give me all the tasks I like only for one, but in my.
And right now we're trying to show off the free model so you guys can see.
Yeah.
Because I want you guys to like,
Mhm.
I get no money from Zapier for this. And in fact, like Zapier is like my second favorite.
Which one is like your number one favorite?
So far, the team is really loving N8N. And
Yeah.
they
Mhm.
also don't pay me to share my love.
Yeah. I hope they do.
Yeah, they should, right? And Red Bull especially.
Yeah. So for this like automation, this is like we did this just having like a chart, and it performed the task and gave me like a good agent review about it. And also I was while you were having like a conversation, you can add more tools just by using this button over here, and you can add any tool. You can upload a CSV, you can integrate Google Calendar, Google Docs, Google Drive, a Zapier table. So everything you can think of, you have like 7,000 plus apps that you can integrate with it. And there are like I think there are like unlimited use cases that we can automate using it. And just we were what we were mentioning, that you can just test it out on Zapier, how you can automate things and how well it performs, and you can also identify some of the things that you might think it needs to be improved or it doesn't do as well as you expect. But if it does, like for me as well, if it performs like and automates like 60 to 70% of the things for me, it still adds like a very substantial value.
The Asian thing is a little bit advanced and
Mm-hmm.
it's great, right? You can they have if you just go to their main site, they
Mm-hmm.
have AI assistants, just like you're showing in the beginning.
Yeah.
And you can go really far with that. And then you can have it go into the visual mode once you set it up, and you
Yeah.
can start tweaking it and playing with it. And guys, right? Just like when we were kids, we set something on fire, we take it apart, we learn how to work with it, right?
Yeah, that's how we learn.
My puppy is going to bark at my shoes until I hug her. So, and ladies, right? I know you don't like the fire examples. My wife hates it, right? She also gets crazy with the boys. Ladies, I know you're thinking creatively. You have the whole cloud process going on in your universe, right? You guys understood, the story of Job when uh when God was like, look, you don't understand anything. I know all the stars. You don't know nothing, right? The women were like, I do, right? I know all that. And I know y'all do. You think of it different. You'll have fun with this also because you can see it visually and you can play with it.
Yeah. And also something I just want to, then I would be actually handing this over to you for more Zapier automations that we are going to explore. One thing that is also advanced and relatively new in Zapier is chatbots. It's also like in beta phase. So what it does, you can just click on create and let me just over here. Yeah, we can name. Let's name it line product.
The evolution of chatbots is changing over time.
Yeah.
It used to be in the day, if this, if that.
Mhm.
Now it's then it was like, okay, here's facts, here's some process. Now it's here is access to a limited database, MCP, and some perhaps payment portals. In the future, I don't know where it's going, but
Yeah.
already half the time I'd rather deal with a chatbot, especially in the beginning. Sometimes I'm like, give me this information, do this for me. And here, guys, it may sound silly, but I like when my chatbot says I'm a chatbot.
Yeah.
Right. Even better if the company wants to be cute and say, hey, this is a mini me, a cartoon figure of a person. I'm the AI mini me of the best sales agent in the whole wide universe, or the best support agent in the whole wide universe. And I'm going to help you get ready. I'm going to answer as many of your questions as I can. We're going to have some fun, and let's get you going. And once you get to a certain point, hey, I'm going to hand you off to the real me, which is amazing, with all this information. It's going to get to this point, and then the real me, Mimi or Daniel me, is going to go onto the call with the client and have all this information prepared. The client's going to be so happy because you have all the boring stuff answered. He doesn't have to spell it twice. He doesn't have to kind of do whatever. There's no pressure of having a real person there like, would you please hurry up and get this code from this page because our policies are blah, 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 right? Nobody wants to hear that. And if you've been through it once or twice, you're like, okay, cool. I'm just going to give it to the AI. Pulls it up, even better, right? Now, next evolution probably is going to be, I'm here. There's going to be like a whole dashboard. Like it's going to be like a pilot cockpit with like, is my plane up and down? Is the person happy with me? Are they super angry with me? Should I hand it off to Michelle because she's prettier than me and she can answer the questions good enough, right? Is this person not like white people? Does this person not like, puppies, right? Some people don't like puppies. My wife in the beginning was like, puppies pee everywhere. They're a pain in the butt. Right? Not everybody's a puppy person. I know like half the audience said no, Phil.
Yeah,
what you said like is a bad religion.
Once you get a puppy, you become like a puppy person, even if you are not.
Yeah. God made things cute for a reason.
Yeah.
Damn it, we got to wrap this call up in like the next 5 minutes.
Sure. Yeah, just
fun.
very quick overview, and I have set it this chatbot thing up. So basically, as you were having a conversation, so I just gave it like the system prompt that we had for our own line product bot that we built for our own site. So Based on it, you can just configure greeting and directive, and it automatically gathers that information, and you can have like a conversation. I actually asked it to tell me about line product and also mobile application development for my health app. So what it did was basically, for the information that I gave, it gave me responses. There are some options, like a knowledge, a tab where you can add your knowledge sources. You can uh, add links to the website where it will automatically crawl through pages and gather all like the information, and based on that, it will use the database for all that information before it moves to the AI model to get you like a reply. So it makes it more
Yep.
personalized, and then we just have like pretty standard and straight stuff like theme and integrations, and you can even switch between different AI models and stuff and configure different settings. So this was like a very quick overview of how chatbots you can
Awesome.
set up using Zapier, and what value they do add using uh, different type of integrations and automations.
Okay, I'm going to share with you guys some inside information that Daniel himself, from the very lips of this beautiful man, has shared with me. Here's how you can help train your system. Record your sales phone calls. Use a system like OpenPhone
Mhm.
or any of these other systems that do the transcriptions. Get those transcriptions. Those are gold. Record all your calls. If the client doesn't want a call recorded, and each client isn't worth more than like $10,000 a week, then just do it anyways, right? They're not going to care. They're used to it. Take your emails, put it in there. Use SMTP. If you don't have real access to your emails in a way that you can download, change your email system so that you can get real access to all those and download in a meaningful way, especially for your sales team and your support team. Connect to your GitHub. If you're not using repositories for your applications or your websites, right, you're missing out on a whole universe of fun. Connect your repositories to your AI, for especially for public information. Then you can start refining things, but those are the first big steps to get you a lot of information on how your internal company works, to make it easy to train your chatbots and faster than we ever had before. It used to be a hard thing to do. Now it's pretty easy. Daniel, what else did I leave out?
Mhm. Yeah, I think it pretty much covers everything. And the thing that you mentioned about gather as much data as you can in terms of your sales calls or like the conversations you are
Support
having.
is especially.
Yeah, because all that data you can give to these systems, and they can identify what your customer is actually looking for and what kind of conversations they are having, and it can help you optimize a lot.
Yeah.
So
And if
yeah.
we need to know what system is best for putting this together, I would say Gemini is, with the million context window, is one of the best systems right now to
Mhm.
upload massive amounts of details, and not the web portal, but
Mhm.
the programmer's interface way better.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
actually not the professional accounts, but as the personal accounts. Can you
Mhm.
imagine? Crazy.
Yeah. And for today, I actually, the purpose of this call was to actually help people understand that they can test things out without even actually committing to something, like having like a professional plan or like
Yeah.
upgrade
That
to some.
we showed you this free plan.
Yeah. Yeah.
Daniel showed
That.
the free plan, guys. You don't have to
Yeah.
build Daniel or Phil. You don't even
Yeah.
have to pay Zapier. You can do all this for free. Go have fun.
Yeah, that was actually my purpose as well, to show people that how you can actually just for free, and even it doesn't take like a lot of your time as well. Without any commitment, you can test things up. You can set up those things and see how it goes, and if it creates value for you, you can then actually have like you can upgrade or you can switch to a plan which has like more, you can say it has more limits in terms of like bandwidth or like conversation or
If it
anything.
works for you, use it. Yep. I just discovered my puppy likes Red Bull.
Yeah. So it was a very fun conversation, and have we will be posting some recorded sessions too on our YouTube and our socials that would cover these topics and these tools in more details. And we would be actually covering some use cases, so you can actually, if you are somehow related to those use cases, you can actually videos and use those as tutorials. You can actually reference to them, and if you have any questions, we would be actually available to help you out in setting up these automations and stuff.
Yeah, and tomorrow we're just going to do Daniel and me a fun call with N8N, so you guys get to see this other platform.
Mhm.
You know, Zapier is fun. It's famous. Have fun with it. Give them love, right? They kind of really led the economy on it. A lot of
Mhm.
competitors, but we're going to show you another option on this. So look for that next recording.
Yeah, and we would be actually diving more into comparing the both of these two and what are like their key differences and what is more suitable to you according to your needs. So we will try to cover as much as we can in that session too. And thank you so much for attending this session and being a part of this. And for me, it was I had like a great time talking about Zapier and the new things that are coming up, and also how it has evolved throughout the years. And I am looking forward to our next call and our next session where we would be actually diving into more tech stuff and trying to aware our audience about what's there and what's also coming, which could add more value to what they are doing right
And next call is going to be even more fun. Nice.
now.
And hopefully this one won't be attacking my shoes the whole call.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope so too.
I said shoes, she growls.
Yeah, the moment you said that, she actually, start looking into the camera that I wasn't the one.
Yeah. She's like, it wasn't me. I'm innocent.
Yeah.
Guys, this is our new mascot. Yeah. Yeah. She's our little lion.
Yeah.
Guys, thanks for the good questions. Thanks for joining us. Go ahead and throw in the comments any questions you have about this. It's a lot of fun. I encourage everybody to try this. Even like on this call, Daniel was kind enough to show me a couple things where I can improve. Adding some automations, and it's just a constant journey. Don't worry about it getting perfect. Just test it out, have some fun. You can see how you do it for free. So God bless. I encourage you guys all to have better, bigger, more beautiful businesses and to get rich.
Thank you so much. Take care.